I am back in my classroom.
I grabbed this podium while I was at the Share Center. I am going to spray paint it black. The amount of times that this man comes into my classroom during the year and steals candy is a lot. That's pretty significant, from the floor up to there of water. Good morning. Today is going to be classroom setup day 2. If you watched classroom setup day 1, then you will have seen the progress that I made there. So my classroom is in good shape, but there are a few other things that I would like to do, and a big reason that I am doing classroom setup day 2 today is because I am going to a place called the Share Center. So Brandon, who is my husband, is off today, so he is going to bring our trailer with us because my goal is to find some furniture items. The Share Center is a location that exists in the state that I live in, Maine, and it is intended for teachers, educators, people who work in a school setting, and the goal is that they take in donations of items that could be used in schools or classrooms or for educational purposes. And then teachers are able to go into the Share Center and make selections of items and then use them in their classrooms. And so if you work in a district in Maine that chooses to pay a yearly membership fee to the Share Center, then you are able, as a teacher of that district, to visit the Share Center and select items. They do have some limits on some items, but overall select items that you feel will be a good fit for your classroom and just take them. There's no paying for them, which is crazy and feels a little bit surreal, but I've done this a couple of times now, and I've got to say the Share Center is a great place. I will also say, if you are a Maine teacher watching this and your school does not pay for a yearly membership to the Share Center, you can still go and you can purchase items out of pocket, which is not quite as ideal, but it is nice that you can purchase these items and they're never as much as they would be if you were to buy them new. So it is still of benefit to you, even if your school does not participate as a member. So that's a little bit about the Share Center, and we are going today. The way that the Share Center is presently operating, you need to go into a system and reserve a 1-hour time slot to attend the Share Center. This is something that is new post-COVID. Prior to COVID, it was just here are our hours and attend when you are able, and now you kind of reserve or book your 1-hour time slot. I have signed up for a 1-hour time slot from 11 to noon today, so that is where we are going to head very soon. And as I mentioned, my goal is to find some furniture pieces. If you watched Classroom Setup Day 1, then you'll have a little bit of background information on the things that I'm about to share with you. My stand-up desk that I have is wonderful and I really enjoy it, but I have noticed that I spend a lot of time at my stand-up desk, and that is where I do the bulk of my teaching from and spend the bulk of my day. And there isn't really any storage with it. It's just a flat section with a pole and then the base, and it is adjustable. So it's a wonderful item, but I am noticing that I really need some storage. I just need some quick grab items. I need to be able to quickly grab a sticky note or my brain break items or things like that. And all of that sort of stuff is being housed in the back of my classroom right now. And it's just getting a little bit monotonous and cumbersome to go from the front where I'm teaching and I have my students' attention and I've got them locked in, and then to have to walk to the back of the classroom, get the item that I'm looking for, and then go back to the front of the classroom where I am doing my teaching and where my students are accustomed to me being, and then I end up losing some students' attention, and it's just not the most effective. So I need to solve that problem. So I'm hoping to find a bookshelf, a small bookshelf, or something that I can use to have a little bit of storage next to my stand-up desk. That is my primary goal. Going to the Share Center is a little bit like going thrift shopping, which is also something I love to do, but I compare the two because you don't know what there's going to be at the Share Center. It's just whatever has been donated, and sometimes it's really specific items, and sometimes it's more generic items that you can envision using in your classroom in an abundance of ways. All right, so let's get going. Let's head to the Share Center. Let's see what we find, and then let's drop it off at my classroom. I am back in my classroom. We are going to unpack the share center items, as well as Eli just came in the door. He's carrying this pink shelf in here for me. Thank you. Can you just set that over by my table back there? So that pink shelf came from home. That was not a share center item, but everything else that you're going to see me bringing into the classroom today is from the share center. So I'll go over everything that I was able to get, and we're gonna figure out where we want to put it all. Charlie's making her way in with some of our share center finds. I'll take that. Thank you, young lady. I'm excited to share with you what is in there. But as I was mentioning, this pink shelf is from home. It has spent time in a couple different places in our house. It was a great item to have for a little while. We were able to pick it up at an inexpensive cost, and it stored a bunch of cloth diaper items for us when our babies were younger, but we are past that stage and just don't need it. So it has come to my classroom. I was able to get these tension rods from the share center. So that is great. I'm hoping, but I'm not quite positive, I'm hoping they're gonna fit in that window. They may not, and if they don't, then I may have the option to cover up some of these manipulative areas and put little curtains in front, which would be nice to have the option to do. So that's my backup if it doesn't fit in the window up there. Also in here, I'm excited about this. I'll share those with you in a minute, but that's my tea and Brandon's sandwich that he needs to eat when he comes back in. But over here, I've been using this as my kids' grab area, and it's good and bad. It has its pros and cons. So I've decided that it would be nice to use this to organize, or at least that's my goal, but a lot of the items are longer, and there are only 2 long slots here, but we'll see. I like the aesthetic of this better because it's black, which doesn't stick out quite as much as this blue one. Not that that truly is the end-all be-all, but it's just nice when things can match and look nice and whatnot. So I feel like, though, these long, skinny sections are going to help the kids do a better job keeping the items organized. And you know what? Actually, that is feeling beautiful. And it just so happens this is the only miscolored one, if you will. And so I can have all of the black tools within that container. I just feel like it's going to keep them a little more organized. And then we can have some quick grab, smaller items in here. Oh, Brandon is arriving with some of my bigger pieces of furniture that I was able to get at the share center. I got this little table item here. I'm very excited about that. I love it as is. I'm not going to change anything about that. Actually, I'm not even totally sure where I'm going to put it at this point, but I do love it, so that will be that. And then this item is a podium that I love my stand-up desk, but I'm just finding that it's not sufficient to meet my needs. I'm not getting rid of it because I do like to be able to just push my laptop around the classroom and move like that, but I just need a place that has some storage going along with it up here at the front of the room where I spend the bulk of my time when I'm teaching. So I grabbed this podium while I was at the share center, and I'm very excited about this. I am going to spray paint it black. I wish that the top was flat, and I feel like that would be a hair more productive for me. Brandon's gonna munch on his sandwich for a little bit now that he's moved everything in for me. So back to the podium. Colin and the other two, Eli and Charlie, were just chomping at the bit to be able to go out to the playground. So we have sent them out there to play. Today is not a rainy day. Very thankful for that, so that they can go outside. It is definitely what they need right now. Need to do a little wiping. It clearly has lived a life wherever it came from. And so I was saying, I bet Brandon could level the top for me pretty easily by cutting it and whatnot, but I don't particularly want to go through that at this time, so just going to use it as is. It can house my laptop if I want it. My major thing was like, what do I do about a drink if I have a drink? And because I always have a drink with me, but I can just leave a little space on this top shelf to put a drink, and that's quick grab and easy. And I actually might even prefer that because kids come up to me a lot when I am up here in this area having their work checked and things like that. So it might even be better so that it doesn't get spilled and whatnot. So I have that internal storage, very excited. I'm gonna get to spray painting that first after I go through all the items that I got so that it will have time to dry and I can get it into place. This little cabinet, I'm not gonna spend time really going over with you because it's not actually mine. Well, I didn't. I never ended up seeing my coworker when I was there, but Brandon did. She ran into him when he was outside with the trailer, and she asked if we could bring this chair and this shelf to the school for her. So we did that. Worked out perfect. Our trailer had plenty of space, and we were coming here anyway, so we were able to save her a trip having to go back and get these items. So those are not mine, and that's the reason I'm not going to spend a ton of time on them, but this item I'm excited about. It spins. That's why I'm most excited about it, because it spins, and it's a raised situation. There's this little shelf-like area underneath. I don't entirely have it figured out exactly what I want to do with this item. But in my head, when I saw it, I was like, oh, that would be so perfect if for some reason I needed to quickly and easily turn my laptop to be able to share the screen with the kids. And I bet you're wondering, like, why would you have to do that? We have a little bit of an internet and casting issue here sometimes. There's my lovely TV. Very thankful for it, but I do a lot of casting to that TV, and late morning, early afternoon, when everyone is casting to their TVs, we often have some issues with that, and we get kicked off, and certain teachers just can't access the casting feature at different times. And there have been times when we are in the middle of a lesson, we have watched a portion of a video, like a Mystery Doug video or something, and then the kids can't finish the video because the internet cuts out. So if I had this option, it would be super easy to be able to just spin my laptop around so that they could see the screen and we could finish the video that way. Not ideal, and I would like to say not all that common, but unfortunately it's more common than I'd like. And I don't know if they're doing any work on the internet this summer. I know they're working on the phone lines. I have noticed that I have a new phone over there in front of Brandon on my table, but I have not heard anything about the internet, and we're pretty close to back to school time, so I think if they were doing anything with the internet, we would know by now. So I am working under the assumption that the internet situation is not changing. Also in here, we have a beautiful little basket, and I didn't have a particular idea for idea for what I wanted to do with this in mind either, but it's very cute, and you can't have too many baskets. So there we are, basket. This is just the bag that I used while I was there. They give you a bag when you're at the Share Center. And then this is not from the Share Center. I purchased this at Lowe's. This is what I'm going to use to spray paint the podium. And then this bag is the last thing I got at the Share Center. It's just kind of a flexible hamper, if you will. And my idea with this was to try to store some of these in there. I did not have hopes that all of them would fit. I don't think at all that that's going to happen. And I'm fearing that only like 3 will fit. And I don't know that that's really any better, but they fall out of here. So I don't know, maybe if I can turn this to the side and also tuck that in there. I'm not totally sure, but actually I'm kind of having a different thought now. My rulers fall out of that yellow bin all the time because the bottom of it is not solid. This is a little overkill for rulers, but they wouldn't fall out. So what if I tucked it in there, and because it's flexible, I could squish it in. It would, 1, hide the cords, which aesthetically would make me very pleased, and then 2, house the rulers so they're no longer falling out. I feel like that is going to be a better option. So I think that's what I'm going to do. It's very helpful to talk things through with you guys. The amount of times that this man comes into my classroom during the year and steals candy from that jar is a lot. Here we are, summer break. His first time in my classroom. He was not here for setup day 1. He was teaching his own summer class at the college where he works, but he's here today and he's gotten into the candy. Did not take long. All right, let's get to spray painting the podium. need to wash my hands, but before I do that, I will show you the end result that we have going on right now. What a transformation, right? Still wet, so things are looking a little splotchy, but we put that piece of paper down so that I could get all the way to the bottom and not have grass marks. And so that is what it's looking like. I have not spray painted the inside at this point because while I would like to, I really want to save what I still have in the can for any touch-ups that I need to do. And then if I am fortunate enough to have enough, I will spray paint the inside too. I'll start with this upper shelf because that's what I'll see more, and then move down to the lower portion. But it'll just depend on how much of that there is left. But I just feel like, what a nice transformation. And that can of spray paint did cost $10, so not as inexpensive as I would like, but honestly just so much more sleek and much improved in my opinion. What do you think? Did you prefer it in the faux wood look that it was originally, or black like it is now? Let me know in the comments. Alright, next up on the agenda is going to be to get that cleaned up, and I had a lovely idea for this. Maybe it's a little selfish, we'll see, but it is a great height for me to sit on, and sometimes when I'm up here standing and teaching, I just want to take a quick seat. So I feel like I'm going to put it right here at the front of my classroom, and it's going to double as a seat if I should like one, and then also a little bit of storage. So I am loving that idea. So that's my initial thought on how I'm going to use this. So I'm going to get this cleaned up. Brandon just ran to the car because I remembered that I have a couple of sections of string lights. So I have, let me get those turned on so you can see. If you didn't catch setup day 1, then you may not know, but I have string lights around my classroom. I do not have any right there. I had a set that died mid-year last year, and then I just didn't have enough to be able to run it all the way across there, so I don't know that that's going to get solved, and that's really not my pressing desire. But sections like this that are just completely out, I would like to replace. And then all along here, I have a very long section. I think that might be an entire strand that is out, or maybe even 2. I'm not sure. I don't know that I'll have enough strands to rectify all of this, but I would like to fix as much of it as possible because I do love that lighting, and that is the primary lighting that we use when we are learning in this. Okay, my card filled up and my battery were dying all at the same time. But anyway, this is the primary lighting that we use in this classroom, and I typically keep these overhead lights off, and it just is much preferred by the students and myself, so I do want those string lights to be as functional as possible, and in order for them to be functional, they need to work. So we're gonna work on that, and by we I mean Brandon. That's gonna be something that he tackles when he gets back from the car with those. But I'm gonna go ahead and get that little bookshelf-esque item cleaned up and put it at the front of the classroom now. As I was cleaning this up, I was noticing, so I've cleaned this leg already, but I was noticing that all the way around it has this line as though it got exposed to some water. And then Brandon was mentioning that while he was outside waiting for me, he talked to someone who was working there, and they were talking about how it flooded when we had a big rainstorm recently. And now I remember that. I remember seeing it on Facebook. The director of the place had posted about it and how she was hoping it wouldn't delay their scheduled opening and such. So this poor thing had some water, and I mean, that's pretty significant. From the floor up to there of water. Too bad. I'm glad that they seem to have been able to take care of it pretty quickly, and this piece is not destroyed, but oh, I bet they did lose a lot of stuff, so that stinks. This pretty is ready to live her second life. She's looking good. She's all cleaned up. She doesn't seem like she's suffering too much long-term damage from the water she was exposed to. That spot's a little little loose in there. So I'll just be mindful of that since my primary plan is to sit on this item, but
You're gonna sit on
oh, it looks like, can you see that in that lighting? It looks like there must have been two big round things, maybe some big planters on it once, but okay.
Ugh.
Eli is gonna sit on it. I was
So
about
this
to,
is your
but
chair?
no, it's just gonna be behind my stand-up desk and podium area in case I want to sit once in a while I'm teaching.
Wanna sit?
Okay, she's dry. I'm filming this with my GoPro too, so there's probably double differences going on, but she's looking pretty darn good. And I, upon first glance, am not seeing any areas that I need to touch up. So that is grand. And I think that means I can just go ahead and work on the inside. And then once that inside's dry, we will go ahead and bring it inside, and I'll get it set up in my space. I am so excited about this. I really thought about it long and hard while I was at the share center because it's a big piece of furniture and I wanted to make sure I was going to use it. And I think I'm going to like it a lot. So I'm quite pleased that I grabbed it. So let's finish getting it spray painted now. And that is that on the spray paint. I was able to get most of the top shelf. It's not perfect along the back and definitely not up there at the top. That's hard to see with the lighting and the fumes, I think, but most of that upper cabinet is done. It doesn't even really matter. The upper cabinet didn't need to be done at all. The bottom I didn't really make it to at all, and that is fine. So that's going to be her final state, but she is looking beautiful. For $10, I feel like it is now quite the statement piece because she started out as being free for me, so investing $10, that was worth it. Brandon is making great progress with the lights. He's got that section up there redone. I opted not to do right there right now because it's not as far of a chunk as this was over here that was out, so we went with replacing over here as well. So I do still have that one section there where I could get another set of lights, and even there I could just double up so that I could get that taken care of as well. So that'll be for the future. Now Brandon is taking that little blue lantern, is hanging with masking tape, and it's just a little unsightly, so we're gonna get the masking tape down and hang it with some clear, more intense tape called book tape. Really, this is not a book, of course, but it's gonna work. So now I'm waiting on that podium to dry, and while I do that, and while I've got things smelling in here, I'm gonna go ahead and touch this up because I have some leftover black spray paint from when I touched that up when I first started out in this classroom. So I'm gonna touch that up now. It already smells in here, so we might as well just keep the train rolling. All right, podium has moved in. I am loving that podium, So glad I grabbed that, so glad I spray painted it. I'm loving this whole little nook and the vibe that's going on here. There's my little seat shelf. There's my little cart that I had that I got as a gift for teacher appreciation last year. And the storage I'm going to have up here now is just great because I'll have those two shelves there. I will have this space in here as well as down there, and my rolling cart that can move about the classroom. So I am jazzed about all of this. Very, very excited. And this just turned out really, really nice. So now we are on to Brandon hanging the lanterns about the classroom. So how many do we have over here that are still viable? 3?
Put another one on that wire.
Oh, okay. You try and just put this one up here. There's a clear piece of, or actually I guess it's not clear, but yeah, that one's hung by fishing line, but there is this like, oh yeah, you can kind of see it. There's a wire going across like that. I didn't put that up.
Another hunk of fishing line, right?
Probably there was one there. This will be fine since this table's underneath it, but when they're lower like this, kids jump up and hit them, which drives me nuts, but they do it. That one should be fine. But yeah, you know what? Why don't we just go with you put them where you feel like that is not the safest option ever. You put them where you feel like they look nice, and I'm gonna trust you. And that's gonna be that. Oh, look at that. And that actually is okay with me, even though they're right on the same line, because this one is lower than that one. Nice and easy. So you have two more to hang up? Or is this one kind of... No, that one can go up. It's a little... Well, it's a little, you know. But we can make do with what we have. I do have some other paper lanterns on my wish list, but they have not been purchased at this time, so we can make do with what we have. And I'm really loving the idea of putting these tension rods in front of that chunk of manipulatives and in front of that chunk of manipulatives. So that's going to be my plan for those tension rods. I'm not even going to put one in the window there. And what else did I want to be sure to tell you? Oh, Brandon's not exceptionally jazzed about this next thing I'm planning to do, but I want to pull all of this off and I want to spray paint it. We spray painted the back there last year because I didn't have enough of this stuff when I put it down to cover the back as well. And it worked great for last year, but now this year it's going to be time to just bite the bullet and spray paint the whole thing black. So I'm going to get everything off of this shelf and work on getting that, this not adhesive, but contact paper pulled up so that I can spray paint as much of it as I can with what's left in this can. I am very confident it's not going to be enough, but we'll do our best, and then I will just buy another can of that and finish it on another day. Oh, we've got one back there in the corner now. So nice. Where'd you put the other pink one?
Light.
Oh, over there on the light. Well, that one doesn't work because you hung it in front of the sign. So that one has to go elsewhere. You did real good except that one. Ugh. Brandon was really encouraging me to leave this bright blue, and that would have been far easier. But then I was like, you know, maybe instead of leaving it bright blue, I'll just kind of give it like a speckled look. And now I think it just looks like someone went ham with a can of black spray paint, because that's literally what happened. So we're gonna have to just do the whole thing black now, because I'm not digging that. That's not good. It's not good. Are you laughing at me?
Yeah.
How about you do this? You're a good little spray painter. You come spray paint it. Yeah. Congrats. He's a good hubby. And this is where we are leaving off with this project for today. This is not a completed project, but everything's wet, so keep that in mind. It does not look great, but that is because it's wet. And that can made it quite a ways though. Do you teach in a school where you have these dated, bright colored slabs of laminate somewhere in your classroom? I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to know what you do with yours. We are allowed to obviously spray paint them here in our district. And I think this is just, it's gonna look, switching over to my camera because my GoPro died, but it's gonna look a lot better when it is entirely black. And I will be happy when it is entirely black. But we're out of spray paint for today and there's not enough time in the day. There is, but I don't wanna go and get any more today. So that will be another day project, and it is resulting in my classroom looking like it's more of a mess than when I left it, and that's bothering me a little bit, but a lot of the stuff needs to go back on this shelf and obviously cannot right now because it is not dry and not done. But that's the way it goes sometimes. We got all the lights hung that needed to be replaced, minus that little section there. Got all the other lanterns that were still in good shape up. Got the podium here and spray painted, the little desk situation behind it. I have my stand-up desk next to it. I don't know if that's how I'll keep it, but that's going to be the layout for the moment. I have another stand-up desk that I got both of them in a Donors Choose project a couple of years ago. And so that other one I think I'm going to use for the students. That is how I had intended to use it when I got it, and is how I used it for a couple of years, and then COVID happened, things happened, and it hasn't been used for a couple of years now. But we'd like to get back to letting the kids use it because there are many students who prefer to just be able to stand at different times during the day. So it would be nice to give them that option. So that is what I'm thinking I'm going to do there. I'm also thinking that I may turn this into a little standing desk area, not by altering that desk at all, but by adding that to it. So I am considering that as another option to give kids some variation. I know from spray painting something last year that this lasts in the grass for quite a while. So probably for the next one or two mows, there's going to be this shape here for a bit. We just policed the lights. My grandmother uses that phrase a lot. I had a red thing hanging up underneath the board there. It was like a pocket chart, and I just don't want it there. Instead, I would like to put this poster there that has to do with the planets, so that we have a little bit of science-y stuff represented in our classroom. Final look at how things have turned out for day 2 of classroom setup. So this area is looking a little bit, it's better now. I ended up taking care of the school supplies because it was really mentally making me feel discouraged to see so much stuff stacked up here, when in reality, all of that, not this portion, and all of that belongs along this long shelf here, and it's all organized. It has its place. You've seen it in my either classroom setup day 1 or earlier in this video. So that is where all of those things are going to return to. But just having them all stacked up here was making me feel defeated and like I was leaving my room more of a mess than when I came, and that just was messing with my head. So I decided to just go through and take care of the classroom, like school supplies, the markers, crayons, all that sort of stuff. And that's over near the doorway, so we will just start there. Brandon, the artist, is working on creating a very beautiful happy first day of school message for the kids. He does amazing bubble letters, and every year my students get to know his handwriting because he comes in every now and then to give me a drink or pick up one of our own kids or whatever, and the kids see him and then they get to know, oh, he was here the day before and now the next day there's bubble letters. I can't do great bubble letters. Doesn't take them long to pick up on that and figure it out. So that's turning out very cute. But anyway, here's the kids station. We have got colored pencils, crayons here, markers here, glue and glue sticks, scissors, and then this is just a mosh pit of colored pencils, markers, and crayons from prior years. And I'm just going to leave it because ultimately, if they don't get the things back in the place that they go, at least they can just toss them in a bin so they're not on the floor getting swept up and taken to the trash. And then here on either side of the TV, I added a little bit of art. I got these pieces of art at the Share Center today. I like the floral vibe, and I am tying that into the classroom in one other area, which I'll show you. I also have a lot of fake plants and flowers around here, and I do bring a couple of real ones in with me when the school year starts too, so I like that those two pieces of art tie into that vibe that I have going on in here, but that's what that looks like from a distance. And then over here on this side of the classroom, I added this art piece. I'd love it if they were framed, but I think if they were framed, I would have a hard time hanging them because these are cinder block walls, and what sticks to that? Only really sticky tape. So it's going to be fine not being framed, but this is a print by Bert Meyer's X-ray photography, and those are flowers, and I just find it beautiful. So I think it'll be something nice for the kids to just look at, and if they're going to be spending time looking at things around the room, then at least they can be interesting, calming, and or educational. The only thing I changed over here was I added this number grid to the little rolling wipe-off board there. I don't know that I'm going to use it as a wipe-off board all that much. If I do, those are easy to take off. They're just up with some binder clips. And like I mentioned in Classroom Setup 1, we don't use calculators a ton because the goal is that we are strengthening our mental math skills, so those don't need to be accessed for much of the year, and so it is fine to have that in front of it. And as I've talked about multiple times today, there is my beautiful podium. So happy with this. It's my favorite find from the Share Center today, favorite addition to the classroom. It has freed up space on this cart, so I'm still deciding exactly what supplies I'm going to want there. I think I probably won't even finalize what supplies go there until the school year is underway and I am using items, and then as I use them, often I'll know these would be great ones to put there. So not going to put the pressure on myself to have that perfect for the start of the school year. Also loving this. Going to be a great place to just sit if I want to once in a while. I do a lot of standing while I teach, but having an option to sit would be nice. Also not sure what I'm going to store on those shelves under there. Coming around to the inside of the podium, I have a couple of organizational bins that I have put in here with just some quick grab items that I know I will use frequently, and I've left a space for my drink and or water bottle. And then I don't have anything down on the bottom yet. I'm thankful to have open space so that I can fill it as needed throughout the year. Oh, let's see Brandon's final picture here. Oh, precious. Happy first day of school. I also added the solar system banner along the wall there. The sun is over in the corner behind that white shelf that is one of my co-workers, and just loved bringing a little bit of science in here. I'm a math, science, and social studies teacher, so having a little bit of science represented makes me happy. And working our way this way, I did add that basket today. I'm loving that it hides the cords and also keeps all of these yardsticks nice and contained so that they're not falling through the cracks of that previous bucket basket thing that they were in. And then over here we have our half-painted shelf. I was a little bit tempted to just go ahead and put all the items that belong on the shelf on it down there at the end and see if I could get away without finishing the job, but that's not, I know it would bother me all year. And Brandon was kind of putting like a base coat on this, so there are quite a few spots where the blue is showing through. So I'm going to do it the right way, and I'm going to get another can of spray paint and finish the job, but that will happen on a different day. So there will be a classroom setup day 3. And we did the lights, as I mentioned, put the paper lanterns back up. I organized the school supplies like I've showed you and told you. I have an Amazon teacher wish list, and one of the items that has been purchased off of that is an organizer for these headphones. I am so excited about that, but for now they're in that basket, but that will be changed. We did run into a snafu with these tension rods. There just isn't anything for them to tension against, because a single one is too big for this single opening, because then I could put one end of the tension rod here and the other end over there, but a single rod is too big for that opening. So then I thought, okay, well, I could go from there to here, which is all well and good, except for the fact that that piece in the middle prevents that from happening. So, not any great workarounds for that I've thought of yet. We've talked about a couple of other ideas that are possible, so I may pursue that. I'm not really feeling confident that I will. Instead, I'm thinking that I'm probably just going to scrap that idea for this year, focus on finishing up this shelf, and then calling it good on the setup of physical items, because that will clear off almost everything from here, and then I will have just that tiny stack of things to deal with, and that will be no problem. So I think that's going to be my game plan there, and if I have extra time, then I will focus on some curtains for this space. But we've gone all last year without curtains, so it's really not necessary. I think the biggest thing that I would enjoy about having curtains in this space is that it would keep dust off of the items. Like I said, we'll see if time allows for that. But that is how the classroom is looking at this point. That is where we are going to leave it for today. Also, they're replacing our phones, so I guess this is my new phone. It's not hooked up or anything yet. I found it right there when I came in today, so I'm gonna just leave it and let them take care of it whenever they get around to doing that. And that's a wrap on classroom setup day 2. Thank you for joining me on today's adventure. I hope that you found this motivational. Maybe you gained some ideas of things that you could do in your own classroom space from ways that I am utilizing the space that I have. If you haven't already gathered, I have a very awkwardly shaped classroom. It is not a square or a rectangle. Technically 9 different flat surfaces for exterior walls in this classroom, and that makes for a very interestingly shaped classroom. So I am doing my best, making it work. I love this space. I'm excited to welcome students into it in less than 2 weeks at this point. That feels crazy. I think my mind is still in the I'm setting up my classroom phase, and I'm aware that the school year is about to begin, but I also am a little bit removed from that reality. My mind is grasping the concept that school is about to commence again, but not the actual impact of what that will look like or feel like, or that exhaustion that I know I'm about to experience for the first few weeks of school. All school year really, but at least especially the first few weeks of school. So I'm just in that limbo phase of, I know it's coming, and I do realize exactly how many days are left of my summer break, but at the same time, it just hasn't actually sunk in that it's that close to being over, which is bittersweet, of course. I will save my feelings on that, because I know if you're a fellow teacher, you are feeling the exact same way that I am, or you were just feeling that if you've already gone back to school. I know in the southern states and more toward the West Coast area, a lot of teachers and students have already gone back to school for the year, and here in the Northeast, we are getting ready at the end of August. That is when we will welcome our students. So, as I said, thank you so much for joining me today. As I mentioned, there will be a classroom setup part 3, so stick around for that. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, I would love to have you as a member of the growing community here at the Bees Business. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, share it with anyone that you think may also enjoy it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!